yes, we are. Yeah. We're live. If I can sort out. There's one of us. You know, if you are watching this, you'll have just felt we've come through to a call centre in firstly, that's the one in India, and this is the crappy one in the UK.
You just got a bit of a tan, Rich. That's all.
Yeah. Yes, we're back. We've been away for a while.
We are.
Apologies. We have been away. Have you been good?
I've been good. Life's just overtaken. That's all.
Yes, exactly. Working hard on other projects. Back after a hiatus of a couple of weeks, I'd like to blame the petrol crisis, war in the East, or the collapse of Western democracy. But really, it's because we've got busy lives. More on that later on. Good news for everyone on social media, though. Twitter got bought by an African American, which I think we can agree is a great leap forward in equality for the whole planet. What do you think?
Let's throw some rocks at it and see if it breaks.
It will. Let's try and drive 300 miles without it running out of juice. Coming up on the show this week, I have a rant about roadworks that are blighting the entire UK at the moment. You probably noticed it's April, May, and the UK has come to a halt. Is it all to get us to stop driving our cars, I ask? In classic car selection, we are turning back the clock to the early noughties and a Japanese sports car that's definitely been overlooked. It can be yours for around £5,000. And we're going to have a roundup of this week's events in the news. Now, fresh from meeting lead guitarist of Queen, Anita Dobson. Sorry, I meant Brian May. Here's the show's very own Simon.
Yes, thank you, Rich. I've been mingling with the famous faces over the past few weeks. Some we can't mention for legal reasons.
Oh, yes, of course.
But that does include guitarist Brian May, who we both met at the Royal Greenwich Observatory.
We did.
Which was built by his lookalike Sir Christopher Wren. No,
I'm sure that was a great thing for him to experience meeting us.
Yes, I think he did. It was all about launching his new old album, and of course Brian May has a connection with the motoring industry because he did write the track "Driven by You."
Yes, that's correct.
Which was used in the advertising campaign for Ford in the early 90s. I still think one of the best TV adverts of all time.
Yes, shame about the car.
Yes, we've been away from your screens for a few weeks, but it's given me lots of opportunity to explore the more exciting roads across the world. And we'll have more of that in the Lost Highway section of the show. And maybe we'll look at some roads in countries that you can afford to buy petrol in, like the likes of Saudi Arabia, Texas, Dubai, places like that. Yeah. But aside from that, I have an amazing quiz for you. This week it's called the Car-Boyz Conundrum.
Ooh.
One of us has got to be Carol Vorderman.
Quite big enough.
Oh,
I can go and have an operation. Go get some balloons out of the
we'll discuss that off here. So stay tuned for all of that and more. I'm Simon Sujuan, and you know I love you because you drive me crazy, because you're saying other things that I want to say to you. Yeah, everything I do is driven by you.
Simon Sujuan there, the show's very own Brian May. And by that, I mean, he looks like Anita Dobson. Either that
which we saw as well.
Yes. And we've got breaking news before I go into the news. Anita Dobson and Brian May aren't the same person.
Yes. We saw them in the same place.
At the same place at the same time. And she's about this big, and she has lost the curly hair, and he's considerably taller.
He's very tall.
I think he's the tallest man in his 70s I've seen. He is very, very tall.
Mick Fleetwood.
Yes, it's Mick Fleetwood height, but it's nice to see. He's from around here, you know. It's from around my local area.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Simon Sujuan there, and I'm Richard Green, and the pressure's on. You got to feel it. But when you got it all, believe it. When you fall, get up. And if you fall, get up. Tasima Minanaga Ganasalawa, because this is Africa. And that, of course, is the Shakira song Waka Waka. Nothing to do with Fozzie Bear. This stand for Africa, of course, from the 2010 South African World Cup, in tribute to the African who now owns Tesla and makes cars no one can afford, especially in Africa. This, of course, is
the return of Car-Boyz.
And we've done it on the day after Election Day. We've got
so we can talk about it. Yeah,
it's election water. And it says here it's 100% BS. I don't know what that means. British Standard, maybe. And it's full of tractor porn, apparently. Full of tractor porn. So,
I see. Yeah, I think I know what that means.
And the words of the Wurzels. I've got a brand new combine harvester, and I'll give you the key.
Should be a wink there. Give you the key.
I'll give you the key. Easy thing
Different
to do.
time.
Just opening up your phone. Hardcore. Oh shit! Tractors.
Yes.
He must learn private browsing, which has saved me many times. Reporting for duty. Private browsing. If you're watching in America, you've got no idea what we're going on about. This is all about, I think, a Tory MP who got caught looking at pornography in the House of Commons.
Yes.
What I would have done in his case, not that I've ever looked at porn on a phone, I would have said I would have quickly got together some sort of, or joined a society that was looking at the investigation of trafficking, some sort of helping out sex workers, and I'll do some research. It's research. I had a friend of mine actually that worked on the Graham Norton show many years ago who said it was great because you could look up any porn at all, because obviously the old Graham Norton show back in Channel 4 back in the North was very risque. You could just look up anything. It was great fun. Moving swiftly on from
pornography.
Graham Norton and pornography, it's time now for my rant. I'll just show you this picture first. Just take that in. Now, my rant, it's where I look at the wild world of motoring and comment on the idiocracy that we as drivers are often presented with. Like all the best dictatorships, there will be no room for dissent. This will be totalitarian, if not authoritarian. This week, I've been wondering why the hell I can't go into any road in my town without hitting roadworks and seeing one of these people. A Bosnian, Romanian, or who knows, possibly Northerner, asleep in a wheelbarrow. Yes, I've been hitting roadworks everywhere. Of course, I say to myself, stop being a fool, Richard. You are a fool. It's the end of the financial year. April, May, every council across the borough are trying to spend all of our hard-earned taxes on repairing the roads, or at least look like they're repairing the roads. Maybe putting a new cycle lane here, and that suddenly stops and merges into oncoming traffic. Maybe a fecking rainbow zebra crossing that guide dogs can't see, and the police horses are afraid of. But hey, as long as the LGBTQ questioning brigade are kept happy, that's all that seems to matter. And of course, the councillors are doing lots of virtue signalling, which is the real reason they're doing it. Could some traffic calming measures put a bus stop in the centre of a perfectly good road? That's what I like. I've seen that there's a lot of those in London. You have to cross the road, cross the cycle lane to get to the centre of the road to the bus stop. Perfectly great for old ladies that have to cross a dangerous road to get to an expensive and an inefficient bus that, of course, never turns up. Whatever the councils are doing, they love wasting money at this time of year. If they don't spend every single penny of it, they'll get less from central government in the following year, which sounds completely crazy, but that is the way it works in this country. And of course, after 2 years of the woo flu, councils across this fair land have got a lot of cash they need to get rid of. Now, what most people think is that these contracts to repair the roads are given out to the best companies with the best reputation. Well, they do, but then the companies who take on that subcontract it out. The companies who do the work for less than the council pays, with the original winner of the contract who merely takes a cut. So I'll win the contract as a big road fixer. I will then subcontract that out at a lower price, and I'll take a cut. And yes, the companies have a certain amount of time to complete the work, or they'll get fined by the council or the highways agency to finish the work. But what we don't realize is that these companies build those fines into the original quote. So what you pay through the council is not what we get. We get two blokes and a crappy old transit van, when what we've paid for is a national, if not international, a company that fixes roads to fix the highways. Now, you'll see roadworks with no of them on them for weeks and weeks. Yep, they've got to do that job. They've secured the contract, but the workers are probably busy somewhere else. And what I'm talking about is repair and upkeep of the roads. Get the gas, electricity, water, telecommunication providers involved. And I'm surprised that any road in the UK is actually functional. Now, I live in a small borough right on the outskirts of London. Our main road, I'm just going to show you this again, which is only a B road, has roadworks on it, I'd say 4 times a year. It looks like a patchwork quilt of tarmac. And it's a road I constantly avoid because of that. Any work that takes place is not prioritized. And of course, temporary traffic lights go up and down more often than a hooker's drawers. Now, I know you've got the, you've got the same thing where you live. You can name a number of roads near you that have always got roadworks on the go. But do this for me. If you're watching this at home, open up a Google search engine, Google or any search engine, roadworks, and hit the news button. You'll see hundreds of local news stories about roadworks being slow and ineffective up and down the UK. They're everywhere. The M1 motorway, which is the country's first 3-lane road, has had roadworks on it for the last 15 years with almost no interruption. The pyramids were built in less time, for goodness sake. It takes the government to repair one of our major highways. And as an aside, if you're watching in America, you'll just laugh because the states of the road in the US are akin to Eastern Europe before the collapse of the USSR, or probably the current state of the roads in the Ukraine today. The USA has a crumbling infrastructure, potholed highways and collapsing bridges. Last time I was in New York, every taxi was an SUV, and I can only assume because the roads were so bad. But what they don't pay in the USA, which we do pay here, is road tax. License to drive your car here in the UK is 17 billion, and I said billion annually. Less than 10% of that 17 billion goes on the roads. I imagine much of it goes on to redecorate the Houses of Parliament, or, help maybe an MP get some more data on his phone so he can look at tractors, or combine harvesters.
A lot of tractors.
That's why every March and April, we as Brits sit in our cars waiting for the traffic lights to change because we give money to the government who spend it wherever they like. Certainly not on our roads, and certainly not making our lives any easier. Any thoughts, Simon?
I think it's a lack of coordination because there's 2 roads that I drive down, and they have been dug up probably about 4 or 5 times in the space of about 2 months, 3 months.
Okay, that sounds about right.
And it's not coordinated, so I don't see why you have to dig up the same stretch of road, that many times in such a short space.
The main road that goes through where I live, past my window here, and it takes into the main part of the town, it's like a patchwork quilt, and there's just no point resurfacing it, because the moment they do, they'll come down and dig another trench and put some more stuff down there. And I know this sounds like a little bit like an old man moaning, but you can get this stuff done. You watch Clarkson did it on Top Gear. They did an experiment when they spent £50,000 doing a stretch of road, and they got it done in 24 hours. And I know because it's around the corner from where my parents used to live in the Midlands. And they smashed it in 24 hours. And I can remember 20 years ago working in central London, coming back at a late shift at 2 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
And do you know where Finsbury Park, the Rainbow, it's now a church.
Yes,
a gyratory.
Church.
The gyratory past Finsbury Park tube station, and
there's a rubbish football team stadium near there.
Holes, something like that.
Yeah, that's
and I have no skin in the game. I hate football. And but they were doing that road at night, and they led us through. And by that, and because they were going, we cannot block this road.
Yeah,
North
it's
London
a main road.
Function without this being retarmacked, and they did it overnight, and they smashed it, and they did it. So I know you guys can do it. I know you're capable of doing it. So just please do it. Shall we have some news?
Let's have some news.
Hang on, it's somewhere here. Oh.
The band have been enjoying their hiatus. That's why.
They are. Here we go. And
first off, Ian Emperor realizes he's wearing no clothes news. Driving an electric vehicle car costs almost £600 a year less than the equivalent petrol model due to the surging cost of fuel on the back of the war in Ukraine, according to a new report. It says the average annual running cost for an electric vehicle is £1,264 compared to £1,834 for a petrol model when adding up bills for fuel, insurance, tax and maintenance. However, the figures provided are not accurate for every motorist in Britain. However, with EV ownership cost based on the price to charge at home, which isn't viable for a third of homeowners in the UK who don't have off-street parking and are forced to rely on pricier public charge point network. The cost of driving an EV which on average was already cheaper than a car with an internal combustion engine, has widened since petrol and diesel prices shot to a new record level in reaction to Russia's invasion of Ukraine, compared the market claims. It says that running both types of vehicles has risen markedly compared to a year ago. The comparison site says petrol cars' running costs have jumped by £313 in the last 12 months, which is a rise of 20%. By comparison, electric vehicles are £137 more expensive to run over a year today than in 2021, which is a rise of 12%. Yet, even with household energy prices on the rise, with a price cap increase which happened this month. Yes, this month, last month, and a higher cost of electricity to charge EVs in recent weeks pales in comparison to the soaring price of petrol and diesel for conventional motors. The website calculated fuel costs for both car types based on an average of 6,700 miles per annum. The cost of unleaded petrol used was £1.62 a litre, which I think in some places is still the price. The UK average at the end of last week, and 28 per kilowatt hour for electricity. But if you charge at home fully, it's going to cost you around £15 to fully charge a car on a public charge point. You can almost double that rate. So there you go. You put a picture somewhere. I can't remember where it was. First time ever you filled your car up, and how much did it come to?
£100
Ooh.
for 65, I think 65 litres, 60 or 65 litres, £100.
Wow.
I previously had paid £100, but I'd used the expensive petrol, the good stuff.
Yes.
And I was like, no, I'm going to use weasel piss this time. And the weasel piss is £100. And the guy said, you look shocked. I said, I am. A little bit. But what I was thinking of is, so electricity is getting more expensive.
Yes.
Because it's now costing me 40 quid a week in electric to run this place.
Wow.
And it's not that big, and I am the dad that goes round. Hang on,
turning all the lights off,
all the lights off, and everything. Yeah. So what I'm thinking of doing is buying a petrol generator, buying petrol, and then hooking my electric up through a petrol generator. My neighbours might not like it, but fuck them. And just run the petrol generator when we need electric.
So when we have all those brownouts when people are charging their cars, I'll
have my petrol generator. And my shotgun and some knives ready for the end of the world, barbed wire, a couple of machine gun nests, I think, on either side of the house. What we're finding here, so we're now up to £30 to fully charge an electric car that will get you the range of, let me work this out, they'll get you the range of 200 miles.
Yes.
Okay, so I can spend, and I'm spending £100 with a range of 400 miles. On my car. Yeah, we're nearly there, aren't we? We're not far off. Give it a year, and you think it's just going to do this? So what's the point of having an electric car?
Obviously, if we were being cynical, we would say that was a ploy to get people to get electric cars.
I like this picture that I found on the internet of these two ladies. No, Doris, I've no idea where it goes.
Look at the knowing looks they give each other.
Maybe it's a couple of lesbians. I mean, it's a couple of friends.
Which we encourage on the show.
We do encourage it. Yeah, definitely. Possibly not from these two. My idea of lesbianism is possibly slightly different from the, let's just say mine's more a racy idea, but there they are charging it. I was hoping to go this afternoon, Doris. No, you'll be here till next Tuesday. What a complete waste of time. Meanwhile, in an old car is worth a fortune news. Who would have thought it? It's easy to forget what you might have stored in a cluttered garage, but a rare classic car, and I'll show you a picture of it, buried under a pile of rubbish, would be a shock for anyone. That is pretty much what my garage looks like, minus you can sort of see a car just under there.
Oh, yeah.
It's exactly what happened in this particular case after someone found a 1960 AC Greyhound stored in their late father-in-law's home, having stood there for 45 years. Let me give you a picture of what it looks like now.
What, the father-in-law was standing for 45 years?
Yeah, he was standing there for 45 years. They put him away in the garage for 45 years. He'd lost a lot of weight. He'd only had barbecue coal to live on. So that's what it looks like now, having been fully refurbished. After stacks of boxes, dust sheets, tins of paint, An old bicycle were removed. It's been lovely and restored. It goes up for auction next month. It's going to be offered to the highest bidder at auction. Experts reckon it could sell for around about £70,000. Now, the car was uncovered in the vendor's late father-in-law's estate. Hang on. Oh, yes. Estate as in, not estate as in car or estate as in council, but estate as in basically left it in his will. And with the classic blade been kept in the garage since 1978, gathering over 4 decades of dust. The AC, now this is why it's so expensive, because I know AC Cobras are very expensive.
Cobras, yeah.
And
the Ace, is it the Ace?
The AC Ace, yeah. And yeah, well, it's just one of 83 examples of ACs. Of course, didn't AC also contribute to the Aston Martin shape?
Possibly as well.
I think I think one of the ACs went on to be borrowed by Aston Martin, the body anyway. It's just one of 83 examples. Has a Bristol engine, a 2+2 Greyhound coupe produced by the British manufacturer AC Cars between 1959 and 1963 down here in Thames Ditton factory in Surrey.
Okay, I don't know.
Yeah, one of the earliest model. Of course, around the corner, Aston Martin was in Feltham originally.
Yes.
Everybody thinks it was in Birmingham, but no, originally in Feltham. Now, the AC is just one of 83 examples of the pretty Bristol-engined car. It's one of the earliest models, purchased new in 1960, used as a daily driver by the vendor's late father-in-law, including taking it racing, where he pitted it against Aston Martin's club-level circuits around the UK. He bought it, having bought a new car in '78, the AC was moved into the garage. The location was there to remain under increasingly cool quantity of cardboard and other rubbish in the building. After dislodging it from its garage slumber, the vendor took it upon himself to sympathetically restore the machine, carrying out much of the work to get it back to its glorious best himself. Most of the work's cosmetic. The AC has covered, this is amazing, only 43,625 miles in the 18 years before it was stored. It's going to go up for auction at Silverstone Auctions at the Supercar Fest, Sewell Airdrome, Northamptonshire on Saturday, 28th of May. So you've still got time to see if go and have a bid. According to Haggerty, excellent condition example is valued at round about £80,000. It's original, it's in museum condition, low mileage. It could go up to 100,000. Now, unfortunately, we got left a MREG 1992 Rover in my grandfather's.
Nice. K-series engine?
I think so. I think it was the 1.3, not the one. Yes. And it had already been stolen and recovered. Once you broken into the garage.
Stolen or recovered, or was it stolen and given back?
Yeah, pretty much. Can you imagine? We've got in there, Terry. We've got some crowbars.
It's a Rover.
Oh, for fuck's sake, it's a Rover.
It's a K-series.
Parked this on the driveway, we'd have just gone, nah, fuck that. It's a Rover. Yeah, they stole it from the garage. They joyrided it round the corner, and they found it. I think there was a slight thing on the wing that his mate knocked out with. He might have even knocked out. I forgot my grandfather was a tinsmith.
Panel beater. Huh?
Yeah, he was a tinsmith. He was a great metal worker.
Oh dear.
Yeah, this is all I get left in flipping inheritance, an old bloody Rover.
You can see there's a Ferrari that looks like that, and I can't remember which one it is.
No, there is. You're right. It's that sort of, it's the 50s and into the early 60s design. Yeah. But I'm sure there is a link. I shall do some research between Aston Martin and AC. And I'm sure that the Aston Martin shape was either borrowed from it or, that the AC produced it. Something went on there. Anyway, nice. There we go.
Moving on, and in pensions get pushed out of city centre news. Campaigners have accused councils. Oh, there was council elections, wasn't there?
Did you vote?
I didn't, because I couldn't find my polling card.
I just noticed out of the fact that I don't see the point of choosing between 100 different flavours of ice cream for all of them to turn out to be vanilla.
Yeah.
Sorry, good point there, but really, what's the point?
They've accused councils of forcing the elderly and disabled out of town centres after an investigation by the Mail on Sunday found almost half of the used half of them use parking machines and do not take coins, but instead requires drivers to pay by phone app or bank card. And of course, old people don't know how to use smartphones. 13 councils in England and Wales have become totally cashless, meaning motorists who struggle with technology or do not use a mobile phone are unable to pay. In the past 15 months, councils that are cashless have limited the availability of cash accepting machines, collecting £257 million in fines. By comparison, £158 million was raised in areas where all car parking cash machines take cash. Caroline Abrams, charity director for Age UK, said cash is the go-to payment method for many older people, including when they park their car. While no one particularly enjoys shoving coins into the meter, if you don't have a smartphone or a credit card, machines don't take cash and are no use at all, making it even harder to find somewhere to park than it already is. The analysis of parking machines followed request under Freedom of Information Act rules that said that 330 councils in England and Wales to find out from the 330 councils, but almost 200 responded. Craig McInally, a Tory MP and chairman for the Fair Fuel UK Motorists and Hauliers All-Party Parliamentary Group, which is probably just a think tank or just a pressure group, which isn't a group, said many people cannot access the labyrinth and the parking systems, often accessible only via smartphones, and this is certainly true of the most vulnerable. Latest figures from the communications regulator Ofcom show 59% of people aged 65 and over use a smartphone, compared to more than 90% of those aged between 16 and 54. Cashless machines. So in the background of that picture, you've got a guy with his cash in a suitcase to
that's
pay
how
for
much
his
you
parking.
need to pay for an hour.
And your petrol.
Yeah, this happened to my mum. She was in a Cotswold village.
Yes.
Went out into a Cotswold village. Got to the meter. She didn't have a phone. Her friend had an old plastic brick.
Yeah.
And they went to pay, and they phoned the number. The number wasn't working because they were trying to pay with a credit card. It wasn't taking any coins, and they eventually found a bloke walking around. He went, "Don't worry, I won't charge you." Because it was just like, oh, there's nothing I can do. I can't stand parking meters. I tell you what, I do. I mean, I am a owner of a smartphone, and
Yes.
I've got an app, which a lot of councils, especially the local councils in Cornwall, just let you use. So there's just a code on there. It's like there's Parkopedia, there's just Park. The one I use is fantastic, and it just makes life a lot easier, so I don't have to worry about having change in my car. But the worst thing I can't stand about parking was, I like to go and get a parking ticket. It's when those fuckers in the council make you put your bloody number plate in it. Because I always think, if I've got like an hour left, as I drive out, I usually hand it to the car going the other way. There's half an hour left on that, mate. Brilliant. That's all I want. I want to go and get a loaf of bread. But no, you have to put your bloody number plate on it.
Yeah.
Bastards.
Oh dear.
Now,
final news story though.
Yes, I've got there's a countdown happened on what we're recording this on. It's telling me remaining meeting time is 3:46. I don't know why that's happened, because that's never happened before. So we shall see if I just have to tick a box when 3:36. Let's try and get through this section of the news firstly. And finally, the government try and pull the wool over our eyes. News. MOTs every 2 years have been floated as the UK Cabinet brainstorm the ways of tackling the cost of living crisis this week. Just a week until, of course, the local elections took place yesterday. Grim figures showing a quarter of Britons are struggling to pay bills. Aren't we just? The Prime Minister gathered his team to thrash out innovative ways of lowering the burden, which is what his wife says when he tries to make love to her, lowering the burden. However, Chancellor Rishi Sunak has vetoed spending any more government money immediately, warning that fuel inflation could add to the 80 billion a year debt interest bill. Transport Secretary Grant Shapps, clueless twat as we like to call him, is said to have raised the idea of allowing vehicles to be checked less often, potentially saving drivers hundreds of pounds. There's a problem with this. as on the surface, it would suggest that you would save some cash, but really you won't.
Mm.
The reason an MOT only costs around £50 a year, but you need to get your car serviced every year or
Yes.
every 10,000 miles. Whether you do 10,000 miles, whether you do 1,000 miles, 50 miles, 10 miles, you need to get your car serviced every year. It's going to cost you, say, between 200 and 700, depending on what's wrong with your car. Saying that you only need an MOT every year will only save you £50 a year, which in terms of the annual servicing is nothing. Plus, the MOT is about keeping you and others safe. So in terms of putting money back into your pocket, this is a complete waste of time. I mean, if I miss my if I missed an MOT, I need to go, I'd zip it round and they will, hang on, one of your tires is slightly bald. I go, yeah, great, I need to fix that tire. But are you saying that me going, fuck the tire, that doesn't matter, I'll just carry on? It makes every car a lot unsafer on the road. That's not correct grammatical English, but it just makes the whole thing.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
So you see the government taking with one hand and with the other also taking. I don't see how this is going to solve any problems.
Take one hand, take the other, and then kick you at the same time.
Straight in the balls and say, there you go. What I have noticed that they did this year, which I've just managed to get out of, is all the car taxes going up again.
Oh, yeah.
And not being spent on the roads.
Yeah.
So I don't see how you're solving anything by saying an MOT every 2 years. Because I don't mind it. Usually, my garage phone me up and go, have you done the annual service? Yes, we have. Is there anything wrong with it? Oh, no. Oh, we did fail the MOT on a tyre, but do you want to put a new tyre on? Yeah. And that's it. That was my last conversation with them. Oil, air, plugs, everything.
1 minute remaining. Sorry, it's not radio.
I know.
That's strange.
I'm just going to find out what's going to go on with this because we shouldn't be charged to this.
No.
So, yeah, I'm trying to work out.
Anyway, in part 2, we have the classic car selection.
Yeah,
we've got
that's the way
letters,
to do it.
And we've got the, what else have we got? We've got the competition. And
will I be winning anything in the competition?
Yes, you will be.
Well, I'm very excited. Classic car selection this week. We head over far away to Japan, and I'll give you a sneak preview. One of these. It could be yours for less than £5,000, which I'm about to do now. I don't know whether this 1 minute thing is happening.
The same thing is, it gives you the countdown before 1 minute, and then at 1 minute it just says, well, we've got about 1 minute left. How does that work?
I'm sort of counting